Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episodes of Enterprise, Season 4, Episodes 12, 13, and 14, Babel 1, United, and the Aenar. This was actually a surprisingly good trilogy. I actually really enjoyed this one. I didn't expect to, especially like from the first part. And once again, like the first episode is probably the best, and then as it continues, it gets a little worse and worse. But by the time we get to the end, like the whole twist and everything, it was worth it, and it was a pretty good payoff. The beginning part is, first of all, it's Babel 1, and it's kind of a shout out to an original series episode, The Journey to Babel. And that's the episode that introduces Sarek, I think, Spock's father. And that whole episode, I mean, we have humans, we have Vulcans, we have the Tellerites, we have the Andorians. And those four are the founders of the Federation. So it just kind of made sense. And this whole episode is basically about the Tellerites and the Andorians finally coming together, and Archer kind of plays that mediator, kind of in between. And just, it's kind of interesting, like the whole teaser of Shran's ship getting attacked, and as soon as he pops up, I'm like, ooh, Jeffrey Combs, like, this would be a good episode. Hoshi and Archer fighting in the beginning, like you can tell something's not right. Are they infected by something? Is it a mirror universe? Who knows? But you can tell it's not right. And then when he's like, you should skip the dessert table, it's like, damn, like it just got real. And then of course he's pretending to be like a Tellerite, and that's how they speak to each other, which I don't know, like I know family that are like that, but whatever. And so just seeing the Tellerites and the Andorians kind of go back and forth and have their peace talks, and it's really interesting. And then I love, Archer's line where he's like, I have to be mean to be like a Tellerite, I have to do whatever to be like an Andorian, why don't you guys just try to be human? And the Tellerite's like, I thought you weren't going to insult us. And it's just like the whole thing. It's more funny than it is anything. And so just that alone, I think would have been a really interesting concept for the episode. But then there's a whole Romulan subplot behind it, which is great. And I think it's really interesting because we've dealt with the Romulans before with the minefield. And then we know that they were the ones kind of pulling the strings behind like the Vulcan bombing and stuff like that. And so to know that like they think Andorians are attacking Enterprise, but ends up being like this drone that can mask its signature. And like the whole time, like you see the Romulan like piloting it and stuff like that. And then finally the big zoom out where it turns out that the Romulans are on their home world. I was like, damn, like it totally caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared for it. And it was a really good twist. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it makes sense because at no point does anybody in Starfleet actually see the Romulans, which makes sense for when we finally get to the original series and Kirk is like the first person to see a Romulan. So it was good. It was a really well done payoff. Going into part 2, I love the drawings of the Enterprise, and I think I've said this before in other reviews for like the Next Generation and stuff like that. Like I always want to collect the little ships, and in fact since like 1991, Hallmark has always put out a Star Trek ship. Like every year I buy that, and then like I always do these videos kind of like in my living room or something like that. I actually have like a whole like man cave where I keep all my comic books and everything like that, and all of those Star Trek ships actually hang from the ceiling because I love them so much. So at one point where Shran's talking to Archer about like, you served on all these vessels, like I thought that was great because it's a shout out to like the sailboat and then like the aircraft carrier, stuff like that, the shuttle. And so I liked how they actually referenced those Enterprise ships. I thought it was really great. When Shran's like girlfriend, partner, mate, whatever you want to call her, like when she gets killed, it's actually really sad and kind of surprising that because it's a flesh wound, it's just on her shoulder, but it was set to kill. So evidently like the whole setting thing is really kind of more interesting now. Like it doesn't have to be a direct hit. So I really like that. Shran and Archer's battle was so bad. Like, I was bored to tears, and then cutting off the antenna, and it takes 9 months to grow back. Like, I didn't care. That whole thing was just awful to me. But whatever, it is what it is, and we kind of have to move past it. Like, that was the whole filler part, was like him pouring the blood on the Tellerite's hand and stuff like that. I didn't need any of it. And then, of course, seeing the Tellerite and Shran like shake hands, again, we're going back to that peaceful mission, knowing the Federation is only a few years down the road. And then finally, when you get to the end and they take the helmet off of the pilot, at first, like, he's so white, like, I actually didn't see the antenna, and I was like, is it like a zombie Romulan? And then I noticed it was the Andorian. Like, he's still, like, he's all white and looks blind and everything like that. And I was like, oh shit, like, what's going on? And then, like, part 3 definitely seems more tacked on. Like, every one of these episodes is so radically different, but yet they're all pieced together. Which I love how Vulcans and Andorians have always, like, been opposite sides, and they've always hated each other. Whereas Vulcan has, like, I think 2 suns, and it's always hot, and it's red. And then this is the first time we've ever seen the Andorian homeworld, and it's an ice planet, and they all live underground, and they're blue and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, so they're complete opposites. I get it now. So all of that, the mythical, like, telepathic Andorians, and it ends up being her brother and all that nonsense. Like, by that point, I didn't really care as much. Like I said, this whole episode seemed way more tacked on than the first part and a little bit of the second part. It was still interesting to kind of watch how they tied it up and, like, brought the Romulans, like, into the show. But I don't know, this one didn't seem as necessary, where it was like a forced telepathic Andorian. So, for those who have seen it, what did you guys think of this 3-parter? I think it's the last 3-parter of the series. Go ahead, let me know. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for the 2-parter, Affliction and Divergence.